ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् आन्तर्यश्च बहिर्विदूततिमिरं ज्योतिर्मयं शाश्वतं स्थानं प्राप्य विराजते विनमताम् अज्ञानमुन्मूलयन् पश्यन् विश्वमपीदमुल्लसति यो विश्वस्य पारे परः तस्मै श्रीरमणाय लोकगुरवे शोकस्य हन्त्रे नमः. We'll see verse number 5 onward. Satyam mrishava chididam jadam va dukkam sukham veti smuda vivadaha adrishtaloka niraham pratitihi nishta vikalpa parama kileshta. Then next verse here. That is verse number 6. That is verse number 6. Sarupa buddhir jagatishvare cha sarupa dhiratmani yavadasti arupa atma yedika prapashyed sadrishtireka anavadirhi purna. Atmani yavat sarupa di asti jagati ishvarecha sarupa buddhihi asti eva. Yavat, so long as sarupa buddhi, I am having a form, I am such a limited entity, iti buddhi asti, Atmani, oneself, then Jagat Ishwarecha Sarupa Buddhihi Asti. So long as we have the idea that I am a limited individual, thus long will be the perception of both God as well as the world. As Gurudev would say, as per your identification, so will be your perception. Where you identify, from there only you look at the world. As I said in the last session also, if you are at work, so you are the boss, so you look at everybody as I am the boss, so you are all subservient, working under me. But when you are with your friends, you are not a boss. Then I am a friend. You look at everyone as a friend only. At home, as a husband or a wife, as a parent of the children, or with your parents, as the son, as the daughter. So where your identification is, so will be your interaction, relationship, perception. Though the basic nature of an individual will not change that easily. If you are an angry person, you are as a boss also you will be angry, as husband is also you will be angry. But the way you treat and interact with people will change. This is at the transactional level, we understand. Here, what is said is Stula Sukshmadi Sula Sukshmadi Antama Sharira Vachinne Drishtari Sharira Paramatratma Padam. Here, Sharir in Atman, when it is said, it is referring to a Sharira, meaning whatever be the body that we are identifying with. Stula Deha or Sukshma Deha. Sarupaha means Rupena Saha Vardate iti Sarupaha. But Yadi, in case, Atma Arupaha, one who recognizes one's own self as Arupaha, without any form, then Kaha Prapashed, then who is that who will be the seer? Of what? Jagat Ishwarecha, Ishwarascha. When one recognizes oneself as no form, then there is no one here to see the world as well as the creator of the world. This anavadihi ananta purna sarvatra ityartha. Sa drishtihi, that vision is vrishti eka, that eka drishtihi, that is a singular vision, anavadihi. Avadhi means limit. Anavadihi, with no limits, which is complete, purna. So here, drishti is not a physical seeing, to be understood as drishti as the awareness, the vision. It's beautifully here put by the commentator here. Paravara taranga patileshu iva parasmat brahmanah aneka kodi brahmandeshu avana anavaradam janmasthiti bangam prapnuvatsu. Just like in a vast ocean which is limitless, there are many various waves and tides and so many other things rise and fall. In the same way, in this vast creation, various lokas and various things, cosmos are subject to rise and fall. Tada jayamananam ekasyapi brahmandasya pindandasya va tridrishya adara adeya jagat ishwaradi beda vyavahara yoge siddhe api. Here in this whole world of perception, there is a seer and the seen, supporter and the supported, Jagat, Ishvaraha, Adi Bedaha. All these various things are, even though it is seen, Akandasya Atmanaha Swarupam Drishtipadavachyam Nityam Purnam Avikarya Iva Bhati iti Uktam Bhavati. Even as the seer of this entire universe, which is subject to constant change, the Atman, the Drishta, remains nirvikara, unchanging. See, there are two standpoints we have to take. This verse does not deny in the Vyavahara Bhumau, in the world of the transaction, that in the world of transaction definitely there is the individual world and the creator of both, God. In Bhagavad Gita also, Bhagavan, when he says, Idam shariram kshetram, kshetram yo janadi kshetrajnah, sarva kshetreshu ahameva kshetrajnah. Why does he, if the absolute standpoint is where there is no world, why should Krishna acknowledge the existence of body, the world, etc.? Because that is where we are. See, coming down to our level and teaching is the nature of the Guru. You cannot say the Guru is standing up above there somewhere in the cloud and asking, if you want, come up. Then he cannot teach anybody. The teacher comes down to our level. It is like, if a person is seeing the snake instead of the rope, acknowledging that you are seeing the snake and how to get out of the snake appearance is what is to be taught. You cannot sit in one corner and say, you are seeing snake, stupid, there is no snake. Right? I'm seeing. Okay. Then you are not seeing the reality. You are not worthy of it. You are unqualified. Stay there only. Then there is no need for teaching at all. And there is no possibility. Bahujivavada of existence of many souls is a required, accepted situation for teaching. Without that, the teaching is not possible. One cannot directly jump to an absolute state, in which case there cannot be any teacher and there is no taught also. Some of the philosophers, even Indian philosophers, have taken to that standpoint and they have not understood the plight of the people who are suffering because of their ignorance, no doubt. But the Guru, the teacher, must be compassionate enough to understand where they are coming from and then slowly lift them up to where they need to go. Then only it is the benevolent action. So here it is said, Atra purva ardena jagadishayoho sarupatvam jivasya atmanah sarupatva ayattam ityuktava. In the first half of the shloka, purva ardena, in the first half of the shloka in this year, jagadishayoho sarupatvam. Jagataha Ishwarasya sarupatvam. Of the world as well as the Lord's formful presence, how the formful presence of the world and the God is acknowledged, Jivasya Atmanaha Swarupa Ayatvam. Swarupa Atmanaha Jivasya Ayatvam. Ayatam means support. The support of, please follow this carefully, the support of the world as well as God is sustained by here the Jiva. The next verse will talk about that very carefully. Without this individual Jiva opening his eyes to see the world is not, and world is not, God is not. So who is the supporter of the world you see? You see. Supporter of the world that you see is you. So that's why Ramana Maharshi says, if you think that you have a form, the world has a form. The God has a form. Because you are the supporter. The joys and sorrows that we experience in the dream world is supported by whom? The dreamer. The dreamer himself is the one who supports the dreadful suffering experiences in the dream, as well as the same dreamer alone is a supporter of all the joyful, pleasant experiences of the dream as well. There's no other person. In the same way, in the perception of the world as well as God, who is the supporter here? Sarupatva ayattam iti uktva. So of the jivas, the jiva is the sustainer of that. In the next half of the shloka, what he says, Uttara ardena tasya atmanaha arupatva siddhau. In the second half of the verse, on the realization of the self itself, Atman itself is having no form, Anavati akhanda drishti swarupa atma eka eva. On realization of that, this Atman is not multiple existence, it is not plural, eka eva, arupaha eva, akarta eva, akhandaha eva. One alone, formless, divisionless, endless. Nitya Siddha Grahya, ever present when it is understood. Bhavati iti pratipadapanat drishta atmanah arupatvameva paramartha tattvam iti spashta siddhantah. Thus, realizing that formless nature of the self alone is complete. That is called complete freedom. Keeping the world as present, you cannot be free. The other day somebody asked me this question, Swamiji, what is the important difference between Western philosophy and Western religious philosophies compared to Advaita? In none of the Western philosophies or religion-based philosophies, there is a unreality of the world. Because if there is unreality of the world, then they should accept the unreality of God also. Because creator is a creator only when there is a creation. So when Western philosophical discussion as well as religion-based philosophies do not deny the existence of world. Whereas Advaita Vedanta says existence of the world and the creator of the world, God, is valid so long as you think that you are a created entity. On the realization of the fact and the reality that you yourself is the immeasurable, immortal, formless presence, at once you realize if you yourself, that is why the word sa drishti. What is the drishti? So drishti is aham akarta arupa atma iti drishti. Sa drishti eka anavatihi. Limitless it is, and only upon the realization of oneself as the formless presence, then alone one will see na jagat na Ishwara. Tadabi drishti vishayinah sarupatvam jagadishayoho sarupatva grahakam ityuktam. Only with respect to the drishti of the individual connected to as an individual entity, as a limited entity, there is a perception of the limited world and the God who created both. So, kadam tad tarhi idam anityamapi tatkalikam sarupatvam atmanah sambhavati idi anyatra vicharitam. How is that in that case, temporarily this assumption of the self as a limited entity has happened? That will be taken up a little later, is what he says. Now, what do we mean by having taken oneself as a form, thereby seeing the world mean. Where is it and how is that we have taken ourselves to be a limited form, wherein we are able to see the world as well as God as a thing which is existing as with the form. द्रष्टुः आत्मनः शरीरत्वप्रसङ्गात् शरीरं पञ्चकोशात्मकं शरीर आत्मबुद्ध्या एव भुवनज्ञानम् इत्याह. If you have taken yourselves to be one which has the 5 koshas, one who is endowed with the 5 layers, then yes, the world will be perceived accordingly. So that is said in the next verse, verse number 7. यत्पञ्चकोशात्मकमस्ति देहम् तदन्तरा किं भुवनं चकास्ति. देहं विना पञ्चविधं तदेतत् पश्यन्ति के वा भुवनं भणन्तु. यत्पञ्चकोशात्मकमस्ति देहं तदन्तरा किं भुवनं चकास्ति. देहं विना पञ्चविधं तदेतत् पश्यन्ति के वा भुवनं भणन्तु. भणन्तु वदन्तु. पञ्चकोशात्मकं पञ्चकोशैः युक्तं, along with, endowed with, made up of 5 koshas: annamaya, pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya, sharira, vijnanamaya and anandamaya. Anna, prana, mana, vijnana, ananda iti pancha koshaha. It is explained beautifully by Gurudev in many places. Deham is sthulam. That is annamayam sthulam. Tasma sukshmam prana. Pranamaya shariram. Pranamaya kosha annamayat sthulam. Annamayat sukshmam. Pranamayat sukshmam manomayam. Manomayat sukshmam buddhi or vijnanam. Vijnanamaya kosha. Vijnanamayat sukshmam karanam. Sukshma means subtle. The subtle has more pervasiveness than the gross. This should be understood carefully, because the body is in one place, but the prana is not only in the body, it's outside the body also. Now think of it. Where is the prana you are breathing from? Inside or outside? What is the source of the prana? Outside, right? Are you breathing inside? What you are breathing is from outside. So the air has got both inside presence, outside presence as well. Now, if you go to the next one, it will be very interesting. Mind is subtler than the prana. Means what? If prana itself is moving in and out, what about mind? Manojavam marutatulyaveham. Say, mind is so pervading. So that is why it is said, even though it is incomprehensible by the science, that because they confine the mind only to the brain. Whereas, if I'm seeing a flower yonder there, my mind has gone there. It is doesn't mean physically it has gone there. Please don't understand it that way. The mind has not gone physically there, but it has grasped the presence of the flower yonder there through the senses. Sense is here, eyes are here, but perception has gone all the way up to that point. So its reach is more. It can perceive all the things it is able to perceive, even if it is physically beyond also. When it is beyond the physics, it's called metaphysics. Meta means beyond. So one should not confine the mind to the physical body alone. Now, buddhi, vijnanamaya kosha. Intellect can comprehend what is unknown also. That is how the human mind, a human buddhi, intellect has developed. That is possibilities it can think. Mind cannot think about the possibilities, can only see what is available. But buddhi, intellect can think of possibilities, which is beyond the reach of the mind, which is subtler than that. Anandamaya kosha can reach beyond birth. What is not in this life at all, it can take there. It can pick up material information from what had happened much, much before your birth, physical birth. It can catch that also. It can even go to a point which even buddhi cannot reach. Karma and karma phalam. Buddhi cannot even think about what is that I have done. It's not available for buddhi to comprehend. But Vasanamaya kosha can reach there. Think of the one beyond that. What is its reach? So this panchakoshatmakam asti deham. Yat panchakoshatmakam asti deham. Annamaya, pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya, anandamayaha, panchakoshaha, atma, rupam, yasya tat. Yad deham asti tadantara dat dehamantarena. Without that physical body, kim bhuvanam chakasti prakashate. Bhuvanam chakasti kim jagad asti iti anubhavah eva nasti. Jagat asti iti anubhavah nasti. If one is not identified with the one of the panchakoshas, one of the 5 layers, there is no world. Is it there, the world? The question is raised, is there a world? Without this identification with any one of the bodies? See, many of the animals identified strongly with their body itself is continuously under danger, because that body identification is strongly pulling that individual, that jiva, whichever it be, animal, any other living being, it is holding the soul connected to a particular identification, and it is causing so much of bondage there with one. Think about human being. What a great bondage it has got. It's got 5. One itself cannot be handled. What to talk about the 5? It's like having 5 spouses. All of them demanding attention at the same time. What will you do? Panchabhiranchita kim. What to talk of it? So, dehadeenam jagat grahanam iti bhava. Jagat Grahanam, perception of the world, is Deha Adinam. It is completely depending on the Deha. Deha means here does not mean stula, only the gross body. In all the 5 layers, within that alone is the scope of the world. This world depends upon the Deha that is identified by the soul. Tataha tasmat jagadgrahanasya deha ayattatvat hetoho etat panchavidam annamayadi panchabeda vedavat deham shariram vina keva bhuvanam pashyanti. Deham vina panchavidam tadetat pashyanti keva bhuvanam banantu. Without the identification with the bodies, is there a world? Let somebody explain this. Without that 5-fold body, who can perceive the world? Swamiji, this is known to us. The basic Vedanta you are talking about. The question is, the one who is identifying with the Panchakoshas, is it part of it? Tell me, is the body experiencing it? If the body independently can experience it, then you cannot go to sleep. None of the Panchakoshas can experience the world by itself. That is the point he is driving to arrive at. Shariram vina na kepi bhuvanam grhanti vididam etat sarvesham idi banitam. It is, everybody knows this. Tasmadiha shastre yatra sharira padam yat prayuktam tad tatra annamayadi panchakoshantam koshanyatamam shariram grahyam nadu kevalam annamaya midam stulam shariram idi jnayam. It is not referring only to the annamaya kosha, that is being clarified. Sharira bhuvanayoho vyashti samashtayoho amsha amshi bhavat amshasya amsha adinatvat sharire bhuvana adine sati sharira baddhasya vishayinaha sharira atma abhimanavataha sharira bandham antara vishayatvameva na siddhyati. What is the relationship between the supported and the supported? Supported and support. What is the relationship? The relationship between the supported and the support is that support is apparently, presently, by supporting, it is bound by that. Think. The bondage is the very fact that an individual continuously engaged in supporting the world through identification of the body. So the bondage is sustained by the individual by the very fact that he is identified with that one which is constantly supporting the world. The point is just he have a choice to not to support. Asati sharira bandhe vishayatvasya asiddehe kasya gocharaha syat bhuvanakaraha vishayaha. Without that identification with the body, can there be a knower of the world? Can there be a knower of the world without that identification? So the point is that, some people ask this question, Swamiji, when we sit for meditation and we keep withdrawing from the world, the mind is withdrawn, or the eyes are not seeing, the ears are not listening. Let us say slowly, slowly we are withdrawing. What will happen to the world if I withdraw? There is a fear. People have the fear. Swamiji, if I withdraw from the world, what happens to the world? Tell me, what happens to the world when you withdraw from the world? Which disaster going to happen? They are not able to, if that person is not able to comprehend or understand the point that you are the supporter of the world, and without your support, the world doesn't exist. Therefore, there should not be any concern about what happens to the world when you don't support. It is like a dreamer having woken up from the dream. Is he worried about what happened to them? My wife, my kingdom, the whole world which I experienced, and I had my children and their education. I was supporting them. I was working hard to support them. Now I woke up. What happened? Arey Baba, you are the one who is supporting it. When you don't support, it doesn't exist. So they are lost, they are gone. They are gone, yes, into your mind. So the fear of letting go, we are just not able to let go. We think that if we let go, something disastrous, something calamitous was going to happen. This is where one should understand this knowledge makes you fearless. Why? Because all that which causes fear are being sustained by your mind only. Every night when you go to sleep, are you afraid that what will happen to the world and then go to sleep? Or let the other world go to dogs? Who cares? That is how you go to sleep, right? You should not say let the world go to God's dogs. Huh? You should say let the world go to God and then sleep. Now it is interesting. In Kathopanishad it is said, Yena rupam rasam gandham shabdan sparsham chamaitunan ete naiva vijanati kimatra parishishyate. Yena, by whom? Rupam rasam gandham shabdan sparshan chamaitunan. By because of whom seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and all relationships are taking place. Etena eva vijanati. By this alone one knows. Matra parishishyati. What else is there? Identified with the Panchakoshas alone, the world is supported by you. In the withdrawal of that, the supported world does not exist anymore. Not that it will fall away from you and go to a disaster or become destroyed. No. Its appearance will become no more. Continuing on the same topic here, the next verse. Shabdadirupam bhuvanam samastam Shabdadisatyendriya vritti bhasya Satyendriyanam manaso vashe syat Manomayam tad bhuvanam vadamaha. Shabdadirupam bhuvanam samastam Shabdadi sattendriya vritti bhasya Sattendriyanam manaso vashe syat Manomayam tad bhuvanam vadamaha. Now he will go one step before that. What we have seen, without the identification with the physical body, etc., there cannot be experience of the world. In other words, the Jivatma here alone is the supporter of the world that is supported. What is this world? Bhuvanam, Lokam, Vishwam. What is this world? Shabdadi Rupam Bhuvanam Samastam. Shabda Adi Rupam. Sound, etc. is the word, meaning sound, touch, form, taste, smell. These are the 5 characteristics of the physical world. Shabdadi Rupam Bhuvanam Samastam. Sarvamidam Jagat Shabdadi Rusham Shabdadeha Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasagandaha Rupam Sarupam Yasyat. Asmadadibihi grihamanasya jagataha Shabdadi Guna Samudaya eva Swarupam Bhavati Ityartaha. So, let us say they remove all these 5. No sound, no air, no touch, no form, no smell, no taste. What is the world? What is the world then? Tell me, what is the nature of that world if you do not have any one of these 5? There cannot be an experience. See, our emotional experience are also to some extent connected directly or indirectly one of the senses. I think of her, I can only cry. Then you are looking at the form. Or he or she said something that touches your emotion. One of these 5 sense organs are connected to the emotion also. Either seeing or smelling or tasting or touching. One of them. Shabdadi Rupam Bhuvanam Samastam. Shabdadi Satta. Shabdadinam Gunanam Satta Stitihi Indriya Vritti Bhasya. What is that illuminates the sense organs to perceive the world? Indriya Vritti Bhasya. Without the sense organs being illumined, sense objects cannot be perceived. Indriyanam Indriya Vishayaha, the sense objects, Vishayebhya Vishesha Param Indriyam. Vishyanam Parani Indriyani. Objects are there and objects are perceived by the senses, and if the senses are illumined, then only objects can be experienced also. What do you mean by illumination? That means they should be active. The eyes are active, then it can see. Nose is active, then it can smell, etc. That's why it is said, in Kenopanishad, it is said, since who is Atman, who is the self? Eye of the eye, ear of the ear, mind of the mind, tongue of the tongue, etc. That means the external organ is illumined by the mind. Without the presence of the mind, the sense organs cannot be illumined or functional to experience the world. Therefore, Shabdadi Satyendriya Vritti Bhasya Satyendriyanam Manasaha Vashe Syat. The existence of the mind, Manasaha Satta Indriyanam Bhasya Bhavati. Vritti Bhasya. And it is really understandable for all of us at this point that every experience, whether it is in the form of a sound or a taste or the smell, etc., we understand only in the form of a thought. You may experience it as a sensation. A taste is a sensation, smell is a sensation, but the sensation is taking the form of a vritti, a particular mental modification. See, if you consider mind as like a Play-Doh, right? So children play with that. That's why it's Play-Doh. So Play-Doh or sometime. So when you, that Play-Doh has no particular shape. But the children, because of their interest to play with that, they make a cat out of that. Cat. So what is cat there? That Play-Doh has taken the form of a cat. Therefore, they play it as a cat. Then make a change again, like a dog. Then again, make it like a table. Now, this Play-Doh is taking different forms and accordingly you will see it. In the same way, the mind stuff is constantly changing according to the sense experiences it is receiving. And it is going so fast, therefore you do not recognize that the mind itself is listening also, hearing also, smelling also, tasting also, touching also, thinking also, simultaneously as though it is happening. Now you are listening to me, but you are seeing me also. But you are seeing me, listening me is happening simultaneously, as though mind is therefore is changing itself very, very fast. Therefore, it appears to be a simultaneous happening. It's not. So, hearing is a vritti, smelling is another vritti, seeing is another vritti, thought. So, thought of hearing, thought of seeing, thought of smelling, thought of touching, this is constantly going on. So, mind itself taking all the various forms. This is proven with an experience of the dream, where there is no sensation externally experienced by the senses, yet you experience walking, talking, smelling, tasting, touching, everything. How? Who's doing it? Which sense organ is active? You need glasses to see the dream. Nowadays, Swamiji, my eyes are getting powered. I have a cataract, so I can't see the dream. So you have a cataract, therefore you cannot see the dream. I need very bright sun in the dream. I need dark glasses now. Not necessary. So, what is it? Satyendriyanam manaso vashe. They are all under the control of the mind. Shotradindriyanam vrittibihi vyaparaihi bhasya prakashya bhavati manah shabdadi gunan prati shotradinam vasakatva ukte tesham grahanasya indriya adhinatvam uktam. So, all the sense objects are depending upon the sense organs. All the sense organs are depending upon the mind. Indriyanam shrotradinam satta sadbhave manasaha vashe syat. Indriyanam api mana adhinatvam uktamam. They are all depending upon the mind. The objects depends upon the senses depend upon the mind. Tad tasmat bhuvanasya shabdadiguna rupavत्वात् shabdadigunanam api indriya nignatvat indriyanam api manomoolatvat hetoho bhuvanam jagat uddeshyam manomayam videyam manaso vikaram rama. So what is the world then? World is nothing but the play of the mind. This is what he is trying to draw in. World of what is world? Objects. Objects are depending upon what? Senses. Senses depend upon what? Mind. So what is support of the world? Logically, mana adhinatvat. It is depending on the mind. So what is bhuvanam? What is the world? Manomayam tad bhuvanam vadamah. Manomayam bhuvanam. World is nothing but the modifications of the mind. Without the mind, it cannot exist. See how he slowly brings to the point that this mind is the one which is making this world appear as real because it is supported by the mind only. And not directly but indirectly. But without the mind, there cannot be any possibility of experience of the world. Atra sukshmasya manasaha stula rupam jagat iti pradipaditam. The subtle mind in the gross form is the world. Sukshmasya manasaha stula rupam jagat. The mind which is subtle, which is incomprehensible by senses and comprehended by the senses, it is the world. जो अंतर है दो उसका बहिर देखना. This is why Bhagavan Shankaracharya beautifully said, Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam pashyannatmani mayaya bahiriva. Actually it is inside, but you are seeing it as outside. What? Vishwam, the world. Darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam, like you are seeing it on the mirror. Nija antargatam, actually inside. Pashyan atmani mayaya, due to maya, bahiriva. You are seeing it as outside. See, this is very important because when you say withdraw, withdrawal from what to what? Are you withdrawing from outside to inside? Because outside is, there was a movie, Inside Out. See, you are not coming from outside to inside. Inside only. Because outside is none other than what is projected by you from within. If it is really something outside, then you withdraw from it. Once one devotee of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, a rich man, he went to him and he was talking to him, and Rameshwar Paramahamsa said, you are at the age where you have to take Vanaprasthashram. Why are you still holding on to the business, and why don't you give up to your children and then you take to Shastra Adhyanam and then Japa and meditation? Why not you do that? Maharaj, ऐसा मत कहना, मुझे कर नहीं सकता है. I cannot do it. क्यों? Why? क्योंकि my children are not really responsible, and also I built this business so carefully and so much effort I have put. And also they are all depending on me. No, but that is your feeling. Only when you give up, you know that they are not depending on you. No, 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 they are depending on me. I know it. I just cannot give up. He went on like that. At the same time, when they were talking, there was one, a person in the ashrama, the monastery. The boy, a young boy, ran towards a tree, and he held the tree so tightly he held, and started to shout, "Please, somebody come and get rid of this tree. It is holding on to me." Then he was shouting, crying. So everybody is looking at each other, what's going on? So this rich man who was visiting the Maharaj, he says, "One of your disciples." Yeah. "Why is he so foolish? What is foolishness about this? He is holding on to the tree. How is he saying that? How can the tree hold on to him? How stupid it is. All that he has to do is release his hand. That is all he needs to do. How can the tree hold on to him?" Ramana Paramasa smiled and said, "He's actually telling a lesson to you. You are also doing the same thing, my dear. Who is holding on to whom?" So now you see, when you say withdraw, what does it mean? Are you really, if there is a word that you have to withdraw from? When you recognize that it is the Sukshma Manaha Eva Sthula Rupena Jagat, it is this mind which is subtle alone is appearing as the gross world outside. So, withdraw is from what? It is this mind stops its imaginations. When the mind no more engages in modifying itself from one to another, then it will reach a point of dissolving from the world, withdrawing from the world. Because by merely closing the eyes and closing the nose and closing the ears, it cannot happen, because you are still able to project. Mentally you can project. Not that through the senses you project. Like in dream, you are not projecting the world through the senses. You are projecting with the mind. Mind is still active, and therefore it is still continuing to see it. Even as you withdraw from the so-called external world and lying on the bed, you are still seeing the world. You are continuing to see the world. Why? Where? The mind. So the true withdrawal of the mind from the world is mind stops its vritti parinam. A constant movement of the mind which is continuously modifying from one condition to another. That is stopped, then the world will not be there. See, when you take a japa, when you take any of this, what you are doing, you are slowing down that vritti parinam. You see, your mind is not changing from one to another constantly. It takes only one. Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. What is the vritti there? What is the mind? What shape it takes? What shape it will take? Maybe the shape of Rama. But there's only one shape. So from there also you should withdraw it to the self. Then you'll have no shape. The mind will become in its original condition. Vrittishunya sthiti. That's what he was talking in the beginning itself. Isn't it? Viddesha chinta rahito hrutakya. Kadam smarama tamameyamekam tasya smritihi tasya dridaiva nishta. All right, we'll see more of it in the next class. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkhabhat bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hmm.